Ms. Wayman, followed by Deanna Brinkley.
Hi, Jennifer Wayman. I want to read some passages from this book. It's a high school book. It's in 7 of our high schools. There's a form that goes home with the parents for consent to read the book. As we all know, well, I've had my kids through high school. They're not going to bring the consent form. They'll probably just sign it themselves. Here's 2 passages. There are no slang words in it.
Just stop her time real quick for me, please, because I know where this is going to go. I just want to make sure that we, in our policies, we have no vulgar language,
Nope,
etc. Just
There's no
or otherwise
vulgar
I'll have to
language.
stop you. Okay, I just want to make sure.
It's about a girl who's going upstairs who thinks she's going to kiss a boy, and there are multiple boys hidden in a room, and this is just a snippet of that. Okay?
Go ahead.
All right. Her last solid memory is pain, then black. Then her brain shuts off. Her body is torn apart by violent waters. She's nowhere. She is nothing. She disappears. She comes in and out of it. She's hoping it's over, a stillness, a heavy blanket of flesh, unmoving. She lets herself hope it's over, then movement. His voice. Did you lock the door? Another voice. Yeah, no one's coming. Another voice. Are you ready? Are you going to be a blank? Another voice. She knows this voice. Everybody knows Eric Jordan's voice. It's my turn. A rhyme for children 1, 2, 3. How many can there be? She thought, I'm going to die, rocking, thrashing a violent sea. Then more, so much more than could possibly be imagined. A voice, turn on the lights, man, I want to see her. A hand on her mouth, shoving her voice back inside. She sees nothing, she is dying, she is dead. She is in a whale carcass that is being torn apart by eels at the bottom of the sea. A voice, she's puking, a voice, just turn her over. Sometimes the only thing worse than death is surviving. Her hair is caked with puke. She hurts all over, she hurts inside. The floor is littered with crumpled clothes and half a dozen condoms. How vile this tiny sliver of gratitude, then only destroyed. They did not plant anything live inside her. She hears a voice in the darkness giving her a new name. It is Slut. The boy of Prescott High School describing all the women in his inventory of lays. I would like to note that this list only includes the full conquests. If I included every, I'll say BJ, and hand J, I'd be here for days, so without further ado, here's an analysis of all my hookups. Late 30s, MLF, regular routine at my work. She comes to buy wine daily. Early 20s, community college student. Picked her up, got her drunk, passed out on my bed. Mid-20s, hippie chick. 17-year-old slut. The trailer trash that was good. 19-year-old skinny, lazy stoner, loved to blank all night. 18-year-old blonde, 17 to 18 years old. 17-year-old chubby girl, and it goes on and on. So the story is about a girl who goes upstairs thinking she's just going to kiss a boy and gets gang raped. It's very disturbing for high school kids to be reading this kind of smut, I guess I would call it.
Can you put the book title up again one more time? Thank you.
And it's in 7 high schools at the moment.
Ms. Brinkley, and then followed by that is Paula, is it Lones? Lones, sorry. I think I got it right the first time.
Comments have been made that they're experts and professionals and that they shouldn't be questioned. They've gone through extensive training. We should treat people equally. Freedom of speech, parental rights, don't fringe on others. Some parents just don't know how to parent. When did the role of the schools change over to being the parents? If this is the case, why are the schools not aligning with the parents? The parents don't want the schools teaching their kids how to have sex, what sex toys to use, which sexual positions feel good, which gender do you want to have sex with today. So if the parents don't want this, but the schools say it's okay, there is something gravely wrong here. We see this clearly with the books that are being found in the schools, but even more disturbing is the fight to keep them in the schools. I gave a book, What is a Woman, to Chad and Mary to read. I'm not sure if you read the book or if it became a table ornament, but I highly doubt that you would want anybody walking into your house seeing that subject matter out for display. There are only 2 biological genders, period. This is what we teach as science. Anything else is fantasy land, and that should take part outside of the schools. We do not teach children in school that they become a rabbit or have sexual encounters with a rabbit. This would be fantasy. So why would we allow books in our libraries to insinuate, under the freedom of speech, parental rights, or do not infringe on others, that the experts and professionals tell us there are only two genders? What is the role of the schools? It's to educate, reading, writing, math, and science, then branching out into specific subjects as the student gets older. I ask you today to understand what is the role of the schools. It is not to teach them about love affairs and activism. This precisely is what these books are teaching. It is not about freedom of speech. Children do not know instinctively these concepts that they are being taught. Fighting to keep these books in the schools is admitting to teaching concepts of racism, oppression, guilt and shame, white supremacy, gender affirming, etc. These stories do not teach merit, excellence of thinking, colorblindness, and equality. In fact, it teaches the opposite. So who are these experts that are being entrusted to allow this in our schools and use the Constitution and parents protecting laws against children and parents? Why would there be anything other than inspiring, uplifting, and empowering literature for children? This should be the focus. Thank you.
Thank you. Following Ms. Lonis is Michelle Martin.
I have a handout. Do I bring it to?
Yeah, give it to Mr.
I don't. I mean,
Dye
five
first.
copies. There's five copies. Okay. First, I'd like to thank Jennifer for reading that, because I actually have information there on that same book, and I did not have the courage to read that. But it is in one of your photocopies, and this wasn't planned. I didn't know she was reading that, but there was actually the list of the high schools that that book is currently in. It's very disturbing. And that was the second page of this 2 or 3 page, very graphic description of what happened to that young woman. Another copy there is from a book called This Book is Gay. And this book, when you go on to Amazon, what it tells you is there's a long-running joke that after coming out, a person should receive a membership card and instruction manual. This is that instruction manual. You're welcome. Inside, you'll find all the answers that you ever wanted to ask: stereotypes, coming out, where to meet people like you, the ins and outs of gay sex, stereotypes, how to flirt, and so much more. The interesting thing is it also talks about, not to mention, hilarious illustrations. I can't even imagine what kind of illustrations would be in this book, and I really don't want to know. Now, last year, this book was actually in several of our schools. And at the last meeting, Richard, you had mentioned about weeds, right? Plucking out the weeds. That book is still in one of our middle schools. Why does Mona Jane Middle School still have a book like this after our supposed purge of a lot of this information? And to be clear, if this was a book about straight people and becoming straight and this kind of graphic detail, I would still be opposed to it, because the detail is very graphic. These children, middle school, we're talking about 10, 12-year-olds with this kind of information. We don't allow these kids to bring ibuprofen into a school, but we can present this information to them. And I found it comical, Chad, that you said, hey, we don't have any vulgarity here. You know, this is a room with adults in it, but we can certainly have it in all of our schools. And I just find that absolutely preposterous. The third packet I have there is, if you go into Destiny and type in some different subjects, I just typed in transgender, there are still 84 books that are available. I didn't print them all out. I just gave you a couple of examples. So it's very easy to go in and see. The interesting thing, though, is I typed in queer, and it said there's no subjects, there's no titles by this. But if I type in queer and title, many books come up on that. So then I started thinking, well, who is categorizing these? Are they trying to subvert the system by changing that? Well, you can't find it by subject, but you can only find it by title now. So that's very disconcerting. And like you said, pulling out the weeds. As a Florida gardener, we all know how terrible these weeds are. So I know last year it was more of the spring cleaning of getting a lot of it out, but we still have a lot of weeding to do. Thank you very much.
I don't see Michelle in the audience. No? This is public comment on the business item of library materials.
Okay. When we found the books in the schools and the content was discovered, we asked the million-dollar question, how did they get into the schools? The reply was always, we don't know, and the people who purchased them most likely don't work at the district any longer. We did not go to the media. We did not demand investigations. We just asked for them to be removed. Then we were told we had to wait for the new state media training and guidelines. We now have this training, but I don't feel we're any closer. It is time to come out of the shadows of the state and write this course. Can the district define what is acceptable? I know I can. So I want to know, where is the line for the appropriate literature that is about sexual excitement, same-sex encounters, graphic descriptions of rape and incest, gender-affirming care, child trafficking, sex slavery, political activism, oppression, anti-cops, because this is what is in the schools. We are to entrust that the media specialists have been trained in some new way to know what is acceptable. So what is the training that they have been received over and beyond what the state just mandated? And where can we find this training? When we talk about the whole of the book, do we mean the overall theme? I would suggest yes. So can you define what themes are appropriate? Themes about graphic love affairs and the same gender. Graphic stories of transitioning with hormone blockers, keeping it secret from parents. Can you show what the value is of these themes? What is parental consent? How will this be verified? Will signatures be available for public observation online? I suggest yes. In the draft, it says the question material will be placed with parent consent requirement during the period of assessment. So the books that err on the side of pornography, gender-affirming hormone blockers are still available while under consideration. This has changed. In the area where the books contested are listed, I would like to see all documentation attached to each book. The reconsideration form, the documents from the media specialist, any committees or school boards' reasons for their final determination. I would also like to see a record kept every time a book is checked out. Will books being purchased by the media specialist also be listed online? It is suggested that the person contesting a book must read the whole book, not just take information and the word from other school districts. To this point, every book purchased should be read fully by the media specialist before purchasing. There should also be a form attached to each book being purchased as to the reason, the sources, the background research that was done to determine the purchasing of this book by the media specialist. I also have questions about how the books are going to be vetted through Destiny. That's a whole nother subject, but we're not going to have time for. But I ask you right now to not accept any media policy or reconsideration forms, as there is still much more work to be done for clarification on this. Thank you.